I idled at a brand new swing gate that didn't exist yesterday. A private HOA road, residents only sign stared back at me from stucco pillars so clean they still smelled like wet mortar. Behind me, my feed delivery driver rode the clutch and swore under his breath, scanning the sky like he could spot an alternative road etched into the clouds. There isn't one. Not after monsoon washouts chewed my two-track to ribbons. A man in mirrored sunglasses sauntered up, tapped my window with two knuckles, and did the little chin tilt thing men do when they're paid to say no. "Turn it around," he said. "HOA residents only beyond this point." "I'm not an HOA resident," I said, "and neither is County Route 217 Spur." "Says who?" He pointed at the sign like it was scripture. 8 days later, in a fluorescent courtroom that smelled like paper and resolve, a judge stamped a temporary restraining order so hard the blue ink haloed the page. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Can an HOA gate a county road? Why do both the county inventory map and the Sable Ranch plat say this spur is public? And, question that began to itch like fiberglass under my shirt, who pulled the county route shield off the post the week before the gate went up? Here's how that day turned into a court order, a lot of mea culpas, and the county crew reinstalling an official shield, while an HOA president rehearsed a resignation speech in her car. I'm Alex Mora, 38, civil engineer, former Red Butte County road inspector. My vices are strong coffee and annotating plats like they're Sudoku. My 40 acres sit 2 miles outside Pine Mesa in the high desert, where the red rock turns purple at dusk and mesquite roots grin at you out of washouts like old teeth. I'm not an HOA member. I never was. My parcel, RB041B, lives alone on the assessor map like a stubborn mule, outside the Red Butte Ridge subdivision, outside their CC and Rs, outside their optics. The only practical access to my ranch is a 60-foot wide public right-of-way called County Route 217 Spur, the Spur for short. It's been accepted, maintained, and inventory listed since before I could grow a mustache. Sable Ranch Tract Map, Book 45, page 12, dedicates that row to the county. Board Resolution 2001-87 lists CR-217 Spur, mile point 0.00 to 0.62 as a county road. I could recite the mile point log in my sleep. The Red Butte Ridge HOA, picture new stucco and curated ocotillo, wanted a gate at their entrance like the ones you see in builder brochures. Prestige sells, especially for a board president like Marla Denby, who treats optics like oxygen. She hired Desert Shield, a private security contractor led by a man named Owen Pike, whose sunglasses arrived 2 minutes before he did. Their motive wasn't a secret. They wanted control of what drivers saw at the entrance. Less hay trailers, fewer feed trucks. Brand integrity. Their words, not mine. What they didn't want to do was pay for a separate private road or pony up for an alternative access to their subdivision. So they tried a shortcut, pretend the public spur was theirs. The morning of the gate, Owen handed me a cream card with a logo in copper foil. "New policy," he said. "Residents only past the crest." "Your gate is sitting in a county right-of-way," I said. "Our legal told us the spur was abandoned in 2009, he said. "Maintenance agreement made it private." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Maintenance cost share is not jurisdiction transfer. Also, abandonment isn't a screenshot from a next-door post. It's a formal process with public notice and a vote. He didn't blink. "Turn it around, sir." Behind me, the feed truck driver shook his head and started a slow, dusty U-turn that sounded like money leaving my wallet. That day cost me 3 hours tracing the two-track that snakes north around a basalt outcrop. After 16 inches of summer monsoon, that path looked like a topographical map of the moon. I could have risked it. I didn't. A broken axle wouldn't teach anyone a civics lesson. Instead, I went home, pulled a fresh legal pad, and wrote, "Gate, CR-217 Spur," at the top. Underlined it twice. Then I wrote letters. That afternoon, Desert Shield stopped a second truck, my well service, then a third, a delivery of culvert pipe I'd ordered in June. Owen issued trespass notices on HOA letterhead like they were parking tickets. "You can't trespass on a county road," I said, phone recording cradled in my shirt pocket. He shrugged. "Take it up with the board." I sent a certified letter to Red Butte Ridge HOA, Attention President Marla Denby, and another to their property manager, Trent Lyle. I cited my parcel ID, RB041B, attached the Sable Ranch dedication, Book 45, page 12, and a crop printout of Board Resolution 2001-87 highlighting CR-217 Spur, 0.00 to 0.62 miles. 3 days later, I got a crisp reply on heavy paper. It used henceforth twice. Per our records, Marla wrote, CR-217 Spur was abandoned by the county in 2009 and is now subject to HOA control. The association has adopted rules for adjacent use. Kindly cease your unauthorized travel. Adjacent use. As in, we saw you and didn't like it. The day after her letter, my well pump coughed like a chain smoker. I called my repair guy, Javier, who rattled down to the gate in a white Ford with a dented door. Owen denied him entry. Javier called me on speaker so I could hear the script. "Residents only," Owen said. "Emergency vehicles can pass." Not this. "It's a public road," I said through the phone. "Let him through." "Not my call," Owen said. "Talk to Marla." The sky to the south went bruised and heavy, the kind of cloud that empties its pockets quick. If the two-track washed out tonight, the Spur was it. I stared at that gate and felt something alive and old stir in my chest. I used to be the county guy people called when a culvert blew or a cattle guard swallowed a tire. I know the smell of an emergency before it earns the name. That night, I printed the county's road inventory map, mile point log, and the maintenance sheet that shows blading dates like a haircut schedule. Then, I stuffed a measuring wheel and a roll of flagging tape into my truck. I spent the next morning at the county road yard, a place that smells like diesel and coffee no one ever gets around to finishing. Linda Chavez, county road superintendent, met me with an orange binder and a wary smile. "Mora," she said, "you still alphabetize better than our clerks?" "I brought my own tabs," I said. "You got Resolution 2001-87 handy?" She pulled it like a rabbit from a hat. CR-217 Spur, accepted by the county, 0.00 to 0.62. You know this. HOA says abandonment in 2009, I said. She snorted. "We didn't abandon a dirt broom closet in 09, much less a Spur folks live off. Abandonment requires a board vote, published notice, findings. Paper's loud when you do it right." "Mind if I request the board minutes and any petitions involving this Spur?" I asked. "Mind if I get sued?" She said, then sighed. "Public records are public records. File it with the clerk. I'll flag what to pull." At the clerk/recorder's office, the microfilm reader hummed like an insect. I scrolled until Book 45, page 12 stared back at me. Sable Ranch tract map. Big block letters dedicating a 60-foot right-of-way to the county for public roadway purposes. I pressed the print button, the machine coughed, and a warm, ghost-smelling copy slid out. I copied the assessor parcel map next. RB041B, floating outside the subdivision plat like a sandbar. The thick black line of the ROW carving down to my fence. Then I filed a records request for any road vacation petitions naming CR-217 Spur, any maintenance agreements with Red Butte Ridge, and any correspondence between the HOA and the county about signs or gates. A young clerk named Jeremiah took my form. "This about the gate?" he whispered. "What about the gate?" I said. He just shrugged and slid my form into a plastic basket labeled pull. Meanwhile, Red Butte Ridge moved fast. New plantings appeared at the entrance. The stucco pillars got a second coat. They replaced the private HOA road sign with a bigger one, then bolted a brushed metal crest above it. A desert mountain outline that made me think of clip art with an Armani budget. The county switchboard said, "We'll look into it," which is government for it's on a pile with a lot of other piles. I didn't blame them. Paperwork moves on legs shorter than it looks. I spent the afternoon walking the ROW with my measuring wheel. Every survey pin I found wore a cheap new ribbon that wasn't ours. The 60 feet plotted out like a runway, 30 from center line to each edge. The gate sat dead center in that public stripe, a private tooth in a public smile. I took photos. I shot a slow pan video of the gate, the pillars, the sign, and the slice of sky where a county root shield should live. The post was there. The shield was not. Something about the cut bolts told me it hadn't fallen off. It had been helped. Why do guys in mirrored sunglasses never answer questions about missing signs? That night, thunder stepped around my house like a drunk neighbor. On the wind, the two-track whispered, "Washout." I installed a small solar-powered camera on a T-post where the ROW narrows at a mesquite stand, pointed at the gate and the empty signpost. When I walked back to my truck, the sky opened. Our county has a statute number for everything if you squint hard enough. Arizona Title 28 is the traffic world. Tampering with a traffic control device without authority, misdemeanor, obstructing a public thoroughfare, ARS 13-2906. You don't need to memorize the numbers to understand the spirit. Don't mess with public safety and don't block public roads. I don't love court. I like facts. But I know the dance steps. To get relief fast, you file for an emergency injunction, a temporary restraining order, under Rule 65. You show likelihood of success on the merits, irreparable harm, balance of equities, and public interest. Merits: recorded dedication plus board resolution plus road inventory. Harm: landlocked access during storm season, delayed emergency response, perishable livestock feed. Equities: opening a public road helps everyone. Public interest: keeping county roads open is basically the definition. I called the lawyer I trust, Meredith Sloan, who has the kind of voice that could teach a cactus manners. "Get me your evidence," she said. "We can draft tonight and file at 8. Evidence? I had a stack. I scanned the plat, the resolution, the parcel map, photos of the missing shield, videos of the gate, and 3 affidavits. Javier's well service denial, Cal's fee delivery U-turn with invoice notations, and my culvert vendor's canceled trip. I attached screenshots of my certified mail receipts and Marla's letter claiming abandonment in 2009. Meredith stitched it into a motion that fit like a custom boot. "Sign," she said. I did. Deputy Carla Ruiz met me at the gate at 8:30 p.m. after her shift. 2 shifts because she's the kind of deputy who stays late to do things right. The county had just emailed a courtesy notice to the HOA. Remove the obstruction pending review. Owen was there, plus 2 Desert Shield guards with forearms like fence rails. The chain across the gate was new, bright and defiant, like it had been polished with a grudge. "Evening," Carla said, tapping her body cam. "We're looking at a public right-of-way. County says the gate has to swing open for public access." "Policy above my pay grade," Owen said. "Policy above mine too," she said pleasantly. "But ARS doesn't care about pay grade. Unlock it." He did eventually. Like the key weighed 100 pounds. We drove through, the gate yawning like a mouth forced to say sorry. When we returned from my ranch 30 minutes later, the wind smelled like wet creosote. The gate was closed and chained again, this time with the second chain around the pillar itself. Carla exhaled through her nose. "Don't do this," she said, almost gently. Owen crossed his arms. Carla wrote a citation for obstruction of a public thoroughfare and told him the county attorney would review the traffic device tampering evidence too. She photographed everything, including the second chain. The incident number is 25-0913-A, she told me. Want a copy of my report? I want 20, I said. The next morning at 8:02, Meredith filed our TRO packet. By noon, the judge set a hearing for 4 p.m. 4 hours is fast. It's also forever when your water pressure is a question and your sky is a threat. I spent those hours at the county records room like it was a church. Jeremiah slid a manila file across the counter like a secret. Your pull, he said, eyes bright. Inside, the thing I didn't know I was waiting for. A 2015 petition by Red Butte Ridge, HOA, to vacate CR-217 Spur, withdrawn before a vote. The notice to affected owners included a requirement, proof that no parcel would be landlocked. Attached to the file were printed emails between Marla and the then property manager, noting one stubborn holdout, RB041B, depends entirely on the spur. There were also 3 photos. In the first 2, the county route shield, white 217 on a green county badge, stood on its post at the entrance. In the third, dated the week before the new gate, the shield was gone. Next to the binder clip, an email from Trent to the contractor. Per president's direction, please pull the old signs before new branding goes in. So who's pulling old signs off public posts? I scanned the file, hand steady, breath not. I added it to our exhibits. Meredith's reply came back in seconds. That's your midpoint. Don't smile yet. I didn't. I don't like to celebrate before a judge tells me to. The TRO hearing happened fast, in a courtroom that always feels 5 degrees colder than the hallway. On one side, me and Meredith, plus Linda Chavez with her orange binder. On the other, Marla in a pearl brooch and a smile that had been practicing in a mirror since junior high. HOA counsel in a suit that made a noise when he sat down, and Owen Pike looking like he wondered if his sunglasses were admissible evidence. Judge Tran asked Meredith to summarize. She did, like she was building a bridge under deadline. Dedication, acceptance, inventory route shield photos, vendor affidavits, Deputy Ruiz's incident summary, the 2015 withdrawn petition acknowledging my dependency on the spur. Counsel, Judge Tran said to the HOA's attorney, your response? He leaned into the microphone like it could add jurisdiction. Your Honor, in 2009, the HOA entered into a maintenance agreement with the county to maintain the spur. Over time, the county ceased service, essentially abandoning the road. The HOA has exercised control since then, and under our CC and Rs, we regulate adjacent use. Stop, the judge said softly. Show me the abandonment. Not a single vote, Your Honor, Linda said, flipping to a tab like she knew exactly where it was. Board Resolution 2001-87 accepted the spur as county. No subsequent vacation. No abandonment vote. We occasionally let them blade it under a maintenance MOU. That's not jurisdiction transfer. HOA counsel tried again. The association is concerned about safety at the entrance. So are we, the judge said. Public safety is why counties keep roads public. Mr. Mora, what happens if your 2-track is washed out tonight? You wait until a rancher fails a physics exam, I said. Then you call search and rescue. Judge Tran nodded. Motion granted, TRO issued. The spur will remain open pending an evidentiary hearing. Gate unlocked, chains removed, no new obstructions. Sheriff to enforce, county to reinstall any missing official signage immediately. Outside the courthouse, Marla spoke to the local reporter who'd smelled a story. We're being singled out, she said to a camera lens like it owed her sympathy. This is about safety and protecting our community from... From what? The reporter asked. Her eyes flicked to me. From non-residents cutting through. On a county road? The reporter said. Marla blinked. I drove home under a sky rinsed clean by the storm. On my way, I watched county guys in orange vests rummage in a bed of hardware. 15 minutes later, a fresh county root shield, CR-217, gleamed on the post like a tooth back from the dentist. For now, I stopped at the entrance, stepped out with my measuring wheel, and installed a second camera on my side of the row. Then, I sent the footage to a folder labeled Gate Litigation. 2 days of quiet. Quiet is suspicious when a board president cares more about optics than oxygen. On day 3, the media nibble turned into a bite. A blog ran privatized county road with a photo of my truck idling at the gate. The caption called it, "The most Arizona story ever told," which is wrong. The most Arizona story is about water, always. That afternoon, I got an email from Peter Kwan, the HOA treasurer, the numbers guy who wears a conscience like a secret. "Off the record," he wrote, "this is getting out of hand. Please accept this as a concerned neighbor writing in his private capacity. Check the board minutes from June 2015 and check the land records. Failed annexation vote, Spur. We didn't have the majority of affected owners." He attached a photo of his fountain pen next to a page of budget notes. It showed a line item labeled Entrance Rebrand, $18,400 with a post-it. Includes sign, removal, replace, contractor, Desert Shield courtesy, approved by president, courtesy. I guess some people spell tampering differently. I forwarded the email to Meredith, then printed and taped it into my orange binder to match Linda's. My hand shook a little. Not anger, relief. There's a point in every fight where the facts stop arguing and start singing. We were getting there. The evidentiary hearing sat a week out. In that week, the HOA did the thing you do when you're wrong and rich. They doubled down. Desert Shield started posting uniformed guards at the entrance again. Hands on hips, bored and belligerent. They couldn't close the gate, so they tried a soft close. Residents-only script delivered with a pained face. Owen swapped his mirrored sunglasses for matte black, as if that changed jurisdiction. I spent my time preparing for the hearing like it was a final exam. Meredith turned my orange binder into an alphabetized wall. Linda helped us pull the county mile point log with hand-scribbled maintenance entries that made the spur look like what it is. Attended. The log showed blading in 2004, 2008, 2013, 2018, 2021, 2024. County service doesn't mean every week. In rural Arizona, it means we keep it alive. I drafted a declaration that smelled like rain and ink. I described turning away trucks. I attached invoices. I included photos of the missing shield and the HOA sign in its place. I added Deputy Ruiz's incident report with the second chain detail and her citation. Meredith built a demonstrative exhibit, the Sable Ranch plat, blown up to courtroom size, with a translucent overlay of the Red Butte Ridge subdivision plat on top. The overlay showed the right-of-way cutting across their entrance. Their plat listed an easement dedication where it overlapped the ROW, an admission that the road existed before their stucco pillars learned how to stand. We subpoenaed Trent, the property manager, for emails concerning sign removal, CR-217 Spur, abandonment, and maintenance agreement. His lawyer moved to quash. The judge denied. Trent showed up with an earpiece he didn't need and a clipboard he wished had answers. I slept the night before like a man making a list in his head and checking the boxes against the ceiling. Court day dawned with that weird blue that happens when high desert air still remembers dawn. I ironed a shirt I only iron 5 times a year and brought my measuring wheel to the courthouse like a talisman. The security guard shrank an eyebrow but let it through. Judge Tran opened the hearing by reminding everyone this wasn't a HOA meeting. Then she reminded counsel that facts were a faster road to a ruling than adjectives. Meredith called me first. I told the story like I'm telling you, except slower, because your brain outruns your mouth when a judge is watching. I explained the dedication. I explained the board resolution. I explained my parcel's independence from their CC and Rs. I pulled out my measuring wheel and found the 60 feet on a courtroom carpet like I was drawing a circle around common sense. Then Meredith called Linda. Linda's orange binder hit the witness stand with the thump you could feel in your molars. She testified about acceptance of the spur as a county road, about maintenance logs, about what maintenance agreement means in Arizona. Hint, not ownership. She explained patiently that a county can accept private maintenance money without selling its soul or its roads. We always retain jurisdiction unless the board vacates, she said. Meredith introduced the 2015 withdrawal. The judge's eyebrows climbed a little when she read the line. One parcel, RB041B, would be landlocked by the vacation. Then came the photos. The route shield in May. The route shield missing 1 week before the gate. The HOA sign where the shield ought to be. Meredith put Trent's email on the screen. Per President's direction, please pull the old signs before new branding goes in. Trent tugged at his earpiece. He didn't remember writing it. Then he did. HOA counsel tried to bury pull the old signs under adjectives. He pivoted to abandonment. He pivoted to private use of public infrastructure. He pivoted to safety. He ran out of pivots. Meredith put Deputy Ruiz on the stand. Carla told the second chain story with the same calm she uses when teenagers lie about speed. She walked through her citation. She explained her directive, keep the public right-of-way open. HOA counsel tried to paint her as partial. It didn't stick. Body cam footage speaks better than adjectives. Finally, HOA counsel called Marla. She walked to the stand like there were reporters in her shadow. She talked about community integrity and brand consistency and stranger traffic. She used the word adjacent like it owed her a mortgage. Then Meredith handed her the 2015 petition and asked, President Denby, who is the stubborn holdout your email references? Marla glanced at counsel, then at me. Mr. Mora, I suppose. You suppose correctly, Meredith said. And in 2015, your board acknowledged that vacating the spur would landlock his parcel, yes? We withdrew the petition, Marla said. After that acknowledgement, yes? Yes. And yet in 2025, you erected a private gate across the same spur and directed your contractor to remove the county's root shield? I authorized branding improvements, she said. Branding, Meredith repeated, and let the words sit on the oak air. Judge Tran leaned forward. Counsel, any more witnesses? No, Your Honor. The judge took a 10-minute recess. Those are the longest 10 minutes in your life because even if you did the math right, your stomach is still sure you forgot a number. When she returned, she was all business. On the evidence, the court finds CR-217 Spur is a dedicated, accepted county right-of-way, she said, reading slow enough for my heart to keep up. There is no abandonment or vacation. The subdivision plat acknowledges the right-of-way via easement language. The maintenance agreement did not transfer jurisdiction. The association's gate obstructed a public thoroughfare. The removal of official signage contravened state law governing traffic control devices. She looked at Marla. Counsel, I'm issuing a declaratory judgment that the spur is public. A permanent injunction will order removal of the gate and any private signage in the right-of-way, and will require the association to refrain from obstructing the road henceforth. The court awards Mr. Mora his fees and costs as prevailing party. I am also referring the evidence of sign removal to the county attorney for review under the relevant statutes. She signed. The sound of her pen was the best music I've heard that didn't come from a radio. Outside, a reporter asked me how it felt. I looked past the camera, through the courthouse glass to the red ridge beyond. It feels like a road, I said. Open. Aftermath is a busy word. It doesn't mean the movie is over. It means the cleanup starts. 2 days later, county crews arrived with saws, wrenches, and a hydraulic cutter that laughed at chains. They unbolted the hinge plates from those new stucco pillars like it was Sunday yard work. The gate came down in two big sighs. A county sheet metal guy bolted a fresh CR-217 shield to the post. Steps crisp, eyes tired. I took a paintbrush to the old mile marker and touched up the numerals like I was putting a face back on someone I loved. Deputy Ruiz called with a tone that said, "Told you." The county attorney filed misdemeanor charges against Desert Shield's owner, Owen Pike, for tampering with official traffic control devices and for obstructing a public thoroughfare. Plea deal, fine, probation, and 40 hours of community service maintaining county signage. I heard he did his hours at a yard, where the coffee tastes like consequences. Marla issued a statement that could have been a template for dust. For personal reasons, she resigned her presidency, effective immediately. The board minutes showed a new budget line for legal fees and restitution, and a line for entrance redesign, which I hope means natural desert and a humble smile. Trent sent his own letter through council, apologizing for miscommunications about the sign. He started keeping his earpiece in his pocket. Peter Kwan went from off the record to on. He stood at the next HOA meeting and said, "We can't gate a county road." In a room where people hadn't agreed on anything in months, they agreed on that. The association reimbursed me for vendor losses and my attorney's fees pursuant to the judgment. Javier fixed my well. Cal delivered the feed and left a bag of coffee on my porch like an offering to the storm gods. I drove the Spur that evening with the window down and the radio off. Quail flicked across the ditch. The wind smelled green. The sign glowed at the crest like a star with numbers. I eased over the cattle guard, tires humming normal again, and waved at Deputy Ruiz as she cruised by, one palm up, tired and satisfied. Later, I walked the 60 feet with my measuring wheel one more time, habit as prayer. I stopped at the edge of my fence and listened to the quiet that only arrives after everyone else stops talking. People think roads are just asphalt or dirt. They're not. They're promises written in grade and gravel, inked by votes and recorded where the paper smells like time. You don't gate a promise. And if you try, some stubborn engineer will show up with an orange binder and make the promise say its name again. I kept the TRO stamp copy pinned above my workbench for a while. Not as a threat, not as a trophy, but as a reminder that the system creaks and groans and still works when you feed it facts and patience. In early autumn, after the last monsoon tantrum, I took the back 2-track out to check the washouts. The Spur held fine. The 2-track needed love. I stacked rocks and widened a culvert throat with a shovel, one scoop at a time, until the ditch sounded right. On the way back, I slowed at the crest, more out of muscle memory than need. There's no gate there anymore, just a slice of sky, a county shield, and a road that knows what it is. If you're ever out near Pine Mesa and you see a green CR-217 sign at a stucco entrance that looks a little naked without a gate, roll your window down, smell the creosote. Feel the cattle guard sing under your tires. That song, that's public. That's all of us. And that day they tried to privatize a county road, that was the day we made it say its name out loud.